I sit here, staring at the walls that have witnessed countless arguments, silences, and my tears are walls that have become far too familiar with the sound of my sobs in the middle of the night. I didn't start out this way. I wasn't always broken. I was once full of life, a woman who laughed loudly, dreamed openly, and believed that love could conquer anything. But that woman feels distant now, like a fading memory of someone I once knew but can no longer recognize. He used to care for me. At least I think he did. It's hard to tell when the shift happened, when the small cruelties started creeping into our relationship. At first, it was subtly sarcastic comments disguised as jokes, a dismissive shrug when I needed comfort. He never hit me, never raised his voice. No, his methods were far more insidious. It was in the way he'd twist my words, make me feel like I was the one losing my mind, like I was imagining things that weren't there. I would ask him something simple, "Are you okay?" And he'd reply with that cold smile of his, "Why wouldn't I be? Maybe you're the one who's not okay." It was small, barely noticeable, but over time, these little digs started to add up. They chipped away at my confidence, my sanity. I started questioning myself, wondering if I was really being unreasonable, if maybe I was the problem. He played games with me. Games I wasn't even aware I was a part of until I was too deep to find my way out. He'd deliberately ignore me for days, not in any obvious way but in the subtle ways that made me feel invisible. I'd sit beside him, trying to engage in conversation, only to be met with one-word answers, his eyes glued to his phone or the TV. And then, out of nowhere, he'd switch. He'd act like everything was fine, as if those days of cold indifference never happened, and I was expected to just go along with it, to pretend that nothing had changed. It was exhausting, constantly walking on eggshells, unsure of when the next emotional blow would land. I had so many breakdowns over the years. Nights where I couldn't breathe, couldn't stop the racing thoughts from consuming me. I'd curl up in bed, crying silently because I knew if he heard me, he'd just roll his eyes or leave the room. He didn't care. He never cared. He only wanted to win whatever twisted game he was playing, and I was just a pawn in it. My feelings, my needs, my pain, oh, it didn't matter. All that mattered was that he kept me under his control, kept me questioning myself, doubting my own reality. But I'm done. I've had enough. I don't know when it clicked. When I finally realized that I couldn't keep living like this. Maybe it was the last time he mocked me for crying, telling me I was being dramatic, that I always make things about myself, or maybe it was the way he smirked when I told him I felt like I was losing my mind, as if my suffering was something amusing to him. Whatever it was, something inside me snapped. I could feel it in my bones, the exhaustion, the overwhelming weight of years of emotional abuse. I was tired. Tired of trying to fix something that was never meant to be fixed. Tired of holding on to someone who never truly cared. So, I'm leaving. It's strange to even say those words out loud. For so long, I thought leaving wasn't an option. I told myself that I needed to stay, that maybe if I loved him enough, he'd change. But love doesn't work like that. Love isn't a game. It isn't about control or manipulation. And I refuse to let him keep playing with me like this. He can play the game of life alone now. I'm done. As I pack my bags, I feel a strange sense of relief, like a weight is being lifted off my shoulders. There's fear, of course. Leaving him means stepping into the unknown, and that terrifies me. But staying would mean continuing to lose myself, piece by piece, until there's nothing left of the person I used to be. I'd rather face the fear of the unknown than spend another day drowning in this toxic cycle. The door closes behind me with a soft click, but it feels louder in my heart. It's the sound of finality, of an ending I never thought I'd have the courage to create. The streets outside seem brighter, more vibrant than they have in years. I breathe deeply, feeling the air fill my lungs, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe freely. I know it won't be easy. The road ahead will be filled with moments of doubt, of loneliness, of questioning whether I made the right choice. But I remind myself that this isn't about right or wrong. It's about survival. It's about reclaiming my life, my sanity, my sense of self. He can't take that from me anymore. He can't twist my thoughts, make me feel small, make me question my worth. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this: I'm no longer his pawn. I'm free. And for the first time in years, I feel hope. But the story doesn't end here. As with anything in life, leaving doesn't mean everything magically gets better overnight. There are still scars, wounds that need time to heal, and parts of me that are still fragile, still aching. I find myself waking up in the middle of the night, heart racing, convinced that I've made a terrible mistake. I have moments where I miss him, where I remember the good times, are those rare moments when he wasn't playing his games, when he was kind, attentive, loving. But those moments were always fleeting, always overshadowed by the cruelty that would inevitably follow. It's in those moments of doubt that I have to remind myself why I left. I remind myself of the mental breakdowns, the endless nights of crying alone, the way he made me feel like I was going crazy. I remind myself that love should never feel like a war, a constant battle to prove my worth. Love should lift you up, not tear you down. I started therapy soon after leaving him. It was something I should have done years ago, but I was always too ashamed, too afraid of what it would reveal. But therapy has been a lifeline. It's helped me unpack the years of emotional manipulation, helped me see that the problem was never me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overly sensitive or dramatic. I was being gaslit, manipulated, and emotionally abused. And as I sit in those therapy sessions, week after week, I begin to feel stronger. I start to remember who I was before him, before the mind games and the breakdowns. I start to believe in myself again. It's a slow process, and there are days where it feels like I'm taking 2 steps back for every step forward. But I keep going, because I know that healing isn't linear. It's messy, it's painful, but it's necessary. I've also started reconnecting with friends, people I had pushed away over the years because he made me feel like they weren't worth my time, like they didn't really care about me. But they did care. They always cared. And now, they're helping me rebuild my life, piece by piece. We laugh together, share stories, and for the first time in a long time, I feel seen, heard, and valued. It's strange how different life feels without him. I no longer feel like I'm walking on eggshells, constantly bracing myself for the next emotional blow. I no longer feel the weight of his manipulation pressing down on me. Instead, I feel free. Free to make my own choices, free to be myself, free to live my life on my own terms. And that's the most important thing I've learned through all of these, that I deserve to live a life where I feel loved, respected, and valued. I deserve to be with someone who sees me for who I am, not someone who tries to break me down piece by piece. And until I find that person, I'm content with being alone, because being alone is better than being in a relationship where I feel like I'm constantly fighting for my sanity. I don't know what the future holds for him, and frankly, I don't care. He can continue playing his mind games, continue trying to manipulate and control those around him, but he won't be able to play with me anymore. I've taken myself off the board, and that's the greatest victory I could have ever hoped for. As I move forward, I carry the lessons I've learned with me. I know that there will be tough days ahead, moments of doubt and fear, but I also know that I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. I survived years of emotional abuse, and now, I'm thriving. I'm rebuilding my life, rediscovering my strength, and reclaiming my happiness. And that, above all else, is what matters most.